and want to lay around. Now, somehow, when I think of the greatest generation that defeated the Nazis, that's not the description of us as a culture that I think led to us being the leader of the free world. So I just look at it and go, great, have at it. I mean, look what you're doing. You're encouraging.
In other words, you're trying to say if
I'm saying it's bad for us.
There'll be a lot of people taking a knee.
Well, yeah. I just think it's in general.
Now, I want to get back to the package store. That's where this started. Yay or nay?
I have in my head, the argument will be between a moral and ethical position and a fiscal conservative position. The tax dollars, I hate to see it going to Hamilton County. I hate to see it going to Benton. But I personally don't think this, from the standpoint of our culture, is necessarily an improvement.
So,
I don't know how I'll vote. I don't know. I have to walk in there, and it depends on probably how regular I've been going to church.
Tell us what you think. 614-5553.
I go to church every week. And
well, here's the thing, Steve. I will.
In fact, I know I will.
Well,
that way I don't have to go to Chattanooga to a package store down there to buy it and let them have the tax.
Well, maybe we ought to
go down to Ooltewah and see how many people you see from Cleveland.
I agree, but here's another argument from a broader standpoint. If you back up and look at us more as a culture, maybe we ought to quit drinking.
Well, John, do you think you're going to change that?
I don't know. It's not whether I'm going to change it or not. It's whether as a soul, what would be better for humanity.
All right, let's change the subject a moment. CNN, I wish Franklin was still here. He told me he watched this live. CNN and a White House.
Stephen
Miller got into it, and they escorted him out with guards because he was taken up for president.
Well, there's a new report that he refused to leave.
Here comes Fro Daddy. He's going to join us this morning. Come on in here, Fro Daddy, and join Backfire. This ought to be interesting. Anyway, what do you think about him throwing him out because he was defending Trump? Is that what it was?
Well, he wouldn't answer specific questions that they were asking.
Franklin had to leave early. We need another seat. Come on in here.
I hope you're a good Democrat.
He is. Sit down. We have Fro Daddy.
I'm here to talk about my political...
You going to run? Oh, are you running for something?
I'm running for senator. That's S-I-N. Weed and liquor is my platform.
Hey.
There you go.
So I'm here to vote for everything.
Are you for package stores?
Yes.
Are you for legalizing marijuana?
Yes.
Anything else?
And I also have some naked videos of me out there on YouTube. So, I'm here to tell you... there's nothing you can drag up on me. I say it like it is. Tune into the show at 3:30. I have to go. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. My mother was a big Democrat. She had a proclamation from Obama.
Mama.
Yeah, she sent him like $25. She got a personal letter,
From Obama?
Oh, yeah. And she had it proudly on the wall, and I'm sure the big man would enjoy that if I'd have left it there. I think it's framed down here in the office. I'll be outside. If you need me, call me.
Okay.
And sorry you guys don't have anybody to team up on.
Hey, I think he's going to the bathroom, don't you?
No, I got to work on something.
Okay. Jeff, something's wrong if Jeff's up this time in the morning moving around.
Yeah.
He's got his briefcase with him this morning.
Yep.
He's definitely voting for marijuana.
Bradley, Cleveland, Coach Schreiber here on the morning show. My friend here, Steve Logsdon, Coach Logsdon from Bradley.
Good morning.
Here on our wrestling program on Saturdays. Said we brought that back for memory of our friend Ron. Always had it every Saturday, and we're going to continue that. We didn't have a whole lot of action this week as far as our local teams. We had, not today, the Walker Valley wrestling team has their duels today, I believe. And saw where I thought they said they changed the venue on that, but I can't remember where they moved it. Maybe Ocoee or somewhere, and I'm not sure why. Maybe because of basketball or something. And but again, and then last week, of course, we had the two matches, the Cleveland Walker Valley match and the Bradley Soddy Daisy match that were scheduled on Thursday night. Were both postponed until this week. Bradley is on Tuesday night. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then the Cleveland and Walker Valley, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is Thursday or Wednesday night. So anyway, that'll be in the paper in case you missed it and didn't get to see it. You still got that opportunity. It's been a real cold week. School's out a lot. I think Friday was really about the only day they were both in. So it's been kind of a cold week. And then they say that maybe before the weekend's over, we might see upper 50s or 60s, low 60s. It's a weird time of the year, folks. You just never know what to expect out there. All right, we're going to get into, this may not be too long a show today because we're kind of limited on what we can talk about, but we still have, they just came out yesterday with the rankings on the duals, the state rankings, and all the individual rankings. And so, Coach Logson and I are going to try to kind of go through that. We did this last week, and the one we used last week, if I'm not mistaken, was from January 7th. And this one just came out yesterday. It's January 19th. So this is pretty well up to date. And according to this, on the AAA rankings, and this is the for the state, Cleveland is still number 1. Science Hill is 2. Wilson Central moved up to 3. Bradley dropped down to 4. Arlington is 5. Halls is 6. I'm sure Chris is proud of that. Soddy Daisy is 7. Brentwood is 8. Heritage is 9. And Blackman is 10. That's your AAA rankings for the state. And so that has changed slightly with Bradley dropping down one case there. And but they went up, and how did they end up in the Vendetti as far as team-wise?
I think they were fifth.
Fifth?
Fourth or fifth.
Okay, I know they got beat by Science Hill, and that was Science Hill is number 2.
Right.
Now Cleveland won their tournament in Virginia. I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I missed it or not. I didn't see a write-up on it or anything. I think they had 7 or 8 champions, several runner-uppers like that. They kind of ran away with it, so I'm not really exactly sure about the total strength of the tournament. But the thing about it is, they pretty all had it in control, and so that seems to be the case this year. Right now, they are pretty stout down the line. And when they got their eyes opened over in Carolina before Christmas, I think that may have showed them that you have to be careful out there. You never know what you're going to run into.
I think that says a lot to people in this area that sometimes we get in our little world we live in here, wrestling-wise. If we're successful in Tennessee or in Southeast Tennessee, whatever, people think, oh, this is the greatest team ever. What a fantastic, unbelievable team. And when we try to explain to those people, we're proud of Tennessee wrestling. We love Tennessee wrestling. We have some teams through here every once in a while that can compete with the really good guys. But when this Cleveland team is just going through everyone here, just ramshot, goes up there and gets shut out, 72-0.
Yes.
And not a win, and just get a lot of pins and against them. And I tell you, it just opens your eyes, lets you understand that sometimes other parts of the country have wrestling that's really at a different level than we have here.
Yeah,
we have
a lot
individuals.
of those northern teams in Pennsylvania, New York, and up in those areas, they've had strong programs for years and years and years, and it's serious business for them up there.
Well, people ask me why that is. They've asked me why is it better up there over the years, and I've come to the conclusion, in my opinion, it's not that they have any kind of a secret technique or that they have any kind of better kids or stronger kids or anything else. It's a matter of, if you get a good kid here, we can name a dozen great wrestlers that come from around here. Well, that kid may have a tough match, his 6th or 8th match of the season, have a decently tough match. And then he comes back and just runs through his next 5 or 6 opponents in a tournament or two. Then maybe has a kid that'll take him 10-3. Or, and he don't get pushed a lot. Of those northern states, in Ohio and Pennsylvania, even in Western California, those guys are getting tough matches, match after match. There's never a tomato can. It's never an easy, or very seldom, an easy match like that. And I think when that level of competition, week in and week out, keeps you on top of your game. It forces you to go to a next level of dedication and refining your craft, and it keeps you on your toes, so to speak. Where here, if you're not pushed all the time, well, there's no incentive for you to get a lot better.
Yep, I agree with you there, and that's it. The competition, and sometimes up there too, I've discovered that we're not quite as close related there. It's spread out a little bit more. The travel sometimes is greater between competition and stuff up there. But boy, I tell you, in their own little hotbeds and own little areas, they're very, very strong. So that's what makes them so competitive. Having been from New York and seen that, it's definitely a big deal. All right, let's go into the 106-pound weighting individual things here. Trey McDaniel is still number 2, according to this. We've got, I think that, let's see, I think he's the only one right now, number 2. It's where he was last week. So anyway, he's the freshman from Cleveland at 106. At 113, Chandler Davis, Walker Valley, still number 1 in this state. That's a great thing. Right here, we've got, folks, 1, 2, and 3. Bradford moved to number 2 because he had beaten Devaney. Devaney is still at number 3, and so there you go. In 113, we got the local 3 high schools, 1, 2, and 3. That's pretty impressive right there, folks, and that's what we like to think about when we're talking about our area here. We go to 120. None of us have anybody in there, and Science Hill has 1. Go to 126. Bryce has dropped down. I think he was 2 last week. He's dropped down to 4.
I wonder why that is. I wonder if he wrestled that Fowler kid from Independence.
I don't know. I don't know if he wrestled earlier Beach, and it seems like they wrestled Beach.
I don't know who puts this together. Do you know who puts this together?
Supposedly, this is coaches from the state.
All across the state. I've never heard of this one, Penn, Tennessee.
According to, I read this somewhere. I don't know if it was this morning or somewhere, that this is where it comes from.
Well, I can speak back to my day when I was coaching. Sometimes these kind of things are done out of Nashville frequently, and not always, obviously, but sometimes they have a Nashville flavor to them. And if there's a nod to be given one way or another, it'll go toward that Nashville person, that Nashville team. For instance, in the dual team rankings here, Wilson Central is ranked suddenly above Bradley. Mm-hmm. Bradley's now 4. Wilson Central's 3. Well, as I look through there, they haven't wrestled, and the 2 teams Bradley has lost to, Wilson Central's lost to also. It has Cleveland listed here, has Science Hill. Mm-hmm. Well, in the last couple of weeks, that's who Bradley's lost to. Well, Wilson Central got beat by the same teams. Mm-hmm. And yet Wilson Central is bumped ahead of Bradley in the rankings.
I think probably you're right there, too.
I see a little Nashville flavor frequently in these kind of rankings and stuff.
All right, 132, we've got Jace Mullen for Cleveland. He's number 4. I think he came up a slot. Seemed like he was 6 last week. And Halls has Chase Brown, who's number 1. That's our end of the state. 38, we've got Logan Whiteside at 5. And seemed like he was 6 last week, but I'm not sure. But he moved up. I know Summit's got a few in there, too. Pete Miller's team, Coach Miller's son. They're doing real well. He's really brought that program along. 145, we got Cody Matthews. He's still strong in there. And let's see, Dobbins Bennett has, Sadi has. But locally, Cleveland's the only one there. 152, we got Austin Sweeney, and I'm not sure he's wrestled in a month or not. He broke his hand.
Right.
And he still seems to be hanging in there. I'm not sure how they determined that, but again, like you say, who knows? 160, we don't have anybody in that area. Science Hill has 1 on the top. Sadi has 1 at 4. And at 170, Dylan dropped down. I think he was, 2 or 3. He's down to 5. I really expected to kind of see Hedrick kind of move in there, at least as a mention, but he's still not. But again, they just not wrestled much here. And this last week hasn't been really proven much because we didn't really wrestle. Next week, after we get through next week, probably the end of next week and next weekend, we will have a whole lot better idea of where I think all these kids and teams will stand once they get a little bit more wrestling in.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting as a Bradley guy. Of course, that's how you look at things through whatever eyes Jackson Bradford from Cleveland beat West Devaney in the dual meet, so he jumps ahead of him in the rankings. Well, Henley won in the dual meet, and he don't jump ahead
Yeah, he
of
doesn't even
Dylan
jump on.
Jones. He don't jump anywhere. So it's kind of interesting to see that. But
Well, I really expected he would be on there this week,
Yeah.
too, because he did. It was a pretty good. It was what 10-3 or
yeah, he
something like
beat him
that.
pretty solid. Yeah,
And
it was a great match though.
It was a good match.
Exciting.
I mean, actually, the score was.
Yeah,
But it was a great match to watch. I'll tell you, it was a good spectator match. That's for sure.
it was.
Okay, let's see. 182. Jack Hicks is still in there at 3. He hasn't moved there. And he and Settles will wrestle this week at Saudi Daisy, and that'll. Or no, I'm sorry. They've already wrestled.
Right. They've. I don't know who won. I guess
Scott-
Settles must have beat him.
Yeah,
Did Settles beat him? I guess.
Evidently.
Oh, that's right. He was winning the match. That's one I think that I read
Yeah.
that Hicks was winning the match and got pinned.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, let's see here. 195, we got DJ Gibson in there strong. Going to be a real strong one there. I'd say he's a big contender this year. And Halls has got one in there also. Science Hill again. They're really, I tell you what, they're up there this year. They're looking real strong right now. 220, we don't have anybody from our area in there. Saudi has Bullock or whatever his tie.
Yeah.
And, of course, Bradley and Saudi wrestle this week, folks. That's going to be a good match. If you can get to that match, that is really going to be a tight match. I think that's going to be better than a lot of people are thinking. And it could go, I guess it could go either way. I don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just one of those things. And then, of course, heavyweight, we got Titus Swafford from Cleveland, still number 2. And so that's kind of how that falls. And in the this is the rankings from 2 weeks ago here. That's where the dual rankings here, they're right under that, was from the 7th. And what we just read to you and just went through for you was the rankings from yesterday. Was that yesterday? 19th yesterday? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, looks like this is going to be a good, exciting week this way. As far as you know, Coach, Bradley program healthy this week?
Yeah, as far as I know, I'm thinking through the lineup. As far as I know, we're good to go. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that, to my knowledge, Cleveland, they had 2 or 3 out there for the Bradley match. I'm not sure about Sweeney. I'm not sure if he's going to be back yet or not. I would advise them not to push him too soon. You know, we got tournaments coming in, 2 weeks? Dual tournaments. Dual is, I can't believe, folks, we're talking about, holy mackerel, we're down to the, 20th of January, so we got about 2 weeks left in the season, if that. And then we go to the dual tournament, or dual matches, dual local duels, and then the state duels, and then we got the individuals. So we're geez, seems like we just started. We're right back at it there, almost here in the tournaments again. So going to be a great finish to the year. Hopefully all our local programs are going to do well. Hard for me to say, our middle school programs are over. They finished before Christmas now, and so our kids programs are still doing well and going strong. I saw they did well last weekend at tournaments, and so neat to have those 3 kids programs locally in the middle schools and now in the high schools, just making us all proud in this sport of wrestling here locally.
I saw the middle school, the kids club article in the paper on higher calling. It was a good article. I did take issue with part of it, and I actually talked to Richard Melvin, and I took issue a little bit. The higher calling program has done a phenomenal job. What they've done with the way it's come about, and the job they've done. They're volunteers, and I think Boscon's been a huge part of that. Before that, it was Mike Hatcher. Hatcher did a great job getting it rolling.
Yeah,
and they've done just a great job. You can't say enough good things, but they contributed to the program. But there was an article in the paper, and a very good article on them, and talked about all the good things that have happened. But the final, it talks about Cleveland and Bradley, and I got it pulled up here. And at the end, the very final paragraph gave me pause, and to go back and look, well, who wrote this article? And it's actually one of these staff reports special to the banner things that basically higher calling people write it, and Mr. Jones's people or whatever, and saying, I don't know. But I know it's not the staff, because Richard told me that they don't do those. But anyway, the last paragraph said, higher calling has produced standout wrestlers for both programs throughout the years. I took some issue with that because I'm so proud of the job the Bradley Kids Club has done all these years.
Oh, yeah.
And the tremendous volunteerism that we've had there with dads and coaches come in there and give thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, just as Higher Calling has done. But yet that statement's not true.
Yeah.
We have never benefited from the Higher Calling program as far as like taking their kids or anything, or they produce good kids and Bradley comes and gets them. I don't think that was really the insinuation, but in no way we've been.
I'm guessing that
that's
who
not a true
wrote that
statement.
really didn't have a strong background in the whole situation.
I don't know why they would say it. When we have our own kids club.
Right,
We've had a kids club for a very long time and done a heck of a job, and I'm just so proud of it. And the fact that anyone else would get any credit as far as kids club goes for what our high schools produce kind of just bothers me a little bit.
Well, I think a lot of people don't realize too. It's so easy. It even goes as far back as when I came in '71. See, most of the people today who are connected with our local programs, see, they don't have a clue where we came from. They don't have a clue where all this stuff started, and they really don't. I guess don't really care, and because you're kind of in the moment, you kind of deal within the moment and what's going on. But a lot of people don't realize our kid program started out as a black and blue kids program for everybody. I mean, anybody was in it. That was the original start for our kids programs. And
do you know some of the? I'll tell you this because I know it from my side, our side, so to speak. And we were together. But some of the impetus for Bradley Kids Club starting through Coach Jackson, as I've heard it many times, is that Cleveland was by far the better program in the county and had established what you had done and Al Miller had done. And it was by far the most established program. And it was viewed as the school to go to if you're going to be a wrestler. Guys like Jeff White went from Truett to Cleveland and things like that. When we're losing kids.
I think that was the main one that got Louis fired up.
That got Louis involved.
Going, because that was a big loss to their football program.
That was huge. That's when Louis went after Coach Jackson. It was huge. But I lost my train of thought. Dadgummit.
Kids programs and
things
started and kicked off.
It was said back then, well, here's what we got. We're trying to establish a program over here, a black and gold program. And the problem we got is we've got a kids club program that's good for all kids. And it truly was. But here's what you got. We looked at it in 1991. You said, you had, or not, no, I'm sorry, not 91, a little bit before that. But you had a kids club program that ran out of the YMCA, out of the boys club, the boys club. And so our kids club program for the county and the city, that's on a blue mat, and they wear blue singlets. And it was kind of, that kind of thing where you go, wait a minute, we need to get some black and gold in these kids' heads. We need to make them see that Bradley's a wrestling school too. And so I think that was one of the things that really started it. And then as it wore on, you look at I've got some old, pictures at the wrestling room in some old scrapbooks. And you looked at it, and the coaches at that time, this was like, 90, 89, 90. You look at them and you go, the Bradley coaches, 4 or 5 coaches, Bradley guy, Bradley guy, Bradley guy, Bradley guy, Bradley guy. But we're wrestling on a blue mat and blue singlets over at the boys club. And Coach Jackson said, we need to get people thinking Bradley is a wrestling school too. And that's when he parted ways. That's when he said, hey, appreciate all we've done. It was great for the kids. We love it. But for us to ever build a program, we have got to get these kids, or not to build a program, to build a better program.
No.
We've got to get these young kids
And that was
thinking,
a
I'm
good
going to be a
idea.
Bradley Bear.
As a matter of fact, my grandson was in the Pride program when they were living here, and of course Chris was a coach at Bradley, and so anyway, that's the thing about that. And you're right. I think that's what we've definitely established now. We've got the Higher Calling, we got the Bradley Pride, we got the Stampede. Everybody now has their own labels. They've got their own feeling, and I think they're doing a good job.
A funny story, not funny, but back in the day, I can't remember the year exactly, but I had a discussion with a couple Walker Valley people, and the program that Walker Valley had started just kind of cranked up, and Alan Morris, those guys were getting things going. And at that time, Heath was at Cleveland Middle School. Heath was at the high school by then, just his first year or whatever. And Heath and Alan have a very good relationship. And good buddies, and I understand that. But the idea at first was, well, we're just going to kind of buddy up with Cleveland and have one big happy family kind of thing over at Cleveland in the Cleveland Wrestling Building. And I remember talking to those guys. I said, listen, we went through this years ago at Bradley, what story I just told you. And I said, the kids you're going to get that come through county school, want to go to Walker Valley, So what you want them to do is to come to Cleveland's Wrestling Building every week and see this beautiful $1 million Jones building, this beautiful environment with all the trophies on the walls, the established tradition, the trophy cases brimming over, and those kids thinking, wait, I could come here and it's already established and done. I said, really, don't you want to build your own program, your own identity? Don't you want to get these kids in the blue and gold and get them thinking, I'm a Colt, in middle school,
Right.
I'm a Mustang in high school? I promise you, those big, wide, young eyes come into this wrestling building, and these parents come in. The greatest recruiter for a private school is to get parents on the campus of Baylor.
Right.
Come down and just look at what we've got. And parents get all big-eyed. Then they say, we can help your child with financial aid, they call it, to come here. And what parent ain't going to look at that and go, yes, I want my child part of this. Look at this Baylor campus. I think the same is true of Cleveland Wrestling Building. It's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. And, I said, you do what you want, but if it was me, there's no way I'm buddying up. You're going to lose kids if you do. Yeah. You're going to lose kids. Get your own people. You got good people. You have quality people. Get them to start a program, a kids club. I think they did it for a year, maybe, and then they did kind of branch off. And, boy, young programs do struggle.
Oh, yeah.
The young kids club programs. They struggle at first, but until they get established.
Well, it's like the way the Walker Valley situation is right now with the Stampede and everything. And again, as we mentioned last week, Cleveland and Bradley programs just didn't just flourish overnight. It takes time. It takes a lot of dedication. It takes just exactly what you're saying. The alumni coming back, people returning. You get all that work together and all that kind of thing. So, Walker Valley is going to get a whole lot stronger over the years. They're going to get better. They're going to have more people involved. They're going to have more alumni, and they're working hard that way. And so that's one reason why we have such great programs here in this community, folks, in our wrestling programs, because, as we mentioned last week, the dedication of all these people involved with Bradley, Cleveland, Walker Valley, that come back to support it, get in there to help, volunteer, encourage more kids involved, and especially in the kids club, you got to make this enticing. You got to make it fun. Don't make it work for these kids. Make them enjoy coming. They want. It's just like anything. Can't wait to get to the playground. It's like when you got recess at school. When you let them out to go outside for 30 minutes, man, they can't wait to get out there. All right, that's the kind of thing you're trying to develop and build up in your kid programs. That when Dad and Mom bring them in there, when they hit that door, man, they're on the mat and going crazy. And that's the kind of thing that. But that's why we have it. We have great people involved in all of it, and we're so proud of what's going on there.
One of the best things that happened for Walker Valley is when Ocoee Middle was progressive enough to build that wrestling room. That was huge because before that, Walker Valley they don't have a wrestling room still. They wrestle behind the bleachers like we did at Bradley for over 20 years. And that's rough because in the evening time you got practice, and is someone using the upper gym for color guard or something? Yeah. It's a common area. Oh, yeah. And when Ocoee Middle got that new wrestling room, and whoever did that or allowed that was pretty progressive of them as far as wrestling goes. Now Stampede has a home base, a place all the kids can go, and it's all adorned in blue and gold, and that was a huge step in my opinion.
It definitely was.
I'm glad they got that.
In fact, I think they had. I think I saw a post last night. I think they had a workout last night over there. Stampede did. So, they're doing a great job, and everybody's doing a great job. Everybody's involved, and this is why we're so strong, folks. This stuff just didn't happen. There's a lot of people who made these programs the way they are today. Okay, let's think about looking up to the week here. What's your impression of the Saudi Bradley match? How do you perceive it?
Well, it's pretty important. It's a pretty important match. Bradley, you have some. You always want to go to the state tournament. That's always a thing. You want to go to state duels, and just to get there is something you have to strive for. You can't take home a medal till you get there. So much is dependent on this match this week with Saudi because let's face it. Let's just be honest. If Bradley beats Saudi, well, then you get to wrestle Walker Valley in the first round of the region. And Walker Valley's no slouch team, but we've already beaten them once. And so that kind of helps your confidence, thinking you can do that again. You hope so anyway, to go to the state. That's your punch your ticket. If you lose to Saudi, now you're looking at Cleveland, who handled Bradley handily, as they say. And you want to be optimistic, and you want to say, hey, yeah, we can come back and win here and win here. But, I've coached a few dual meets, and that's a lot of points. That's a lot of points they hung on Bradley, and it was a pretty dominating performance. And, of course, you always hope, there's always got a pinner's chance. You always hope this and hope that. But on paper, Cleveland's a better, more experienced team. On the mat, they're a better, more experienced team right now. That's how it flows, ebbs and flows. So, you know, Bradley had that for a very long time. And right now, Cleveland, of course, last 2 years, you know, Bradley won the last 4 state titles, and now Cleveland's on the up, and they're way up and doing good. But, you know, you need to beat Saudi this Tuesday if you want to punch ticket to the state tournament and hope to get a state medal over there or a state trophy. Because if you do not, and Saudi is able to beat Bradley on Tuesday, it's going to be a long, tough road come first round of the region duels. And everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty important match. And as far as how it's going to go, boy, I tell you, I don't know. Remember first of the season, I get on Coach T and I read sometimes. Now, I used to go on there a lot when I was coaching. I get on there now maybe 3 times a year, maybe, just to check and see who's arguing with who right now,
Right.
you know, who's. And but I got on there before the season, and there was a total ranking of publics and privates. There was a private school only ranking, and there was a public school only ranking. And whoever did that ranking, maybe Nashville people, I don't know, did not have Saudi in the top 10 in public schools. And I was like, and I just had to really hold myself back. I remember my old handle when I was on Coach T years ago, and I wanted to get on there and say, you people are making a mistake. Saudi's got tradition. They have good coaching. They have good facilities. You don't think Saudi is in the top 10 in public schools? Really? You really believe that? And I almost got on there and said something, but I thought, no, I'm not. I'm gonna stay out of this mess. But I do know Saudi's tradition and the kind of coaches they have, and they're always gonna be tough to handle. Even on a down year, they're gonna be tough to handle. And this year's no different. In fact, Bradley and Saudi over the years have kind of mirrored each other. I mean, how many times we wrestle Saudi in the state finals?
Yeah.
Or have some just knock down, drag them out dual meets with Saudi. And this happens to be a year that both programs are a little bit down for their standards.
Right.
And I think we're very much mirror each other.
That's why I think it could be a toss-up. I think
Yeah.
it could be just a break, kind of like Wade Cleveland the other night there. We got 2 or 3 surprise wins, I felt like, in some cases. And, it just kind of set the trend there for a while. And so you just never know. And I used to say that's why they play the games. Well, that's why you wrestle the matches. That's why you get on the mat. You're talking about individuals. You're talking about kids. You don't know. You don't know who's up that night, who's down. It's there's just so many factions that play into these things, and so you have to be very, very cautious about how you predict and how you think things are going to happen. But I guarantee it'll be a good match, folks. So if you can get that, is at Saudi, right?
It is a Saudi in the wrestling arena.
Yeah, at their arena down there, the old school. So you need to, if you're a Bradley fan, get down there. Just a wrestling fan, get down there and watch them wrestle, and I think you'll see a really good match. And then of course Cleveland and Walker Valley will wrestle on Wednesday. I still think it's Wednesday night, but again, right now, obviously Cleveland is probably have the upper hand there, and but there'll be some good matches, especially at 113. So get in there, get up there and support. It's at Cleveland, I believe that is. I think it's, matter of fact, it may be senior night. I can't believe we're talking about senior nights already. Then again, let's see. That takes care of our local programs on that aspect. And then, are they anywhere? Is Bradley anywhere this weekend on tournaments or anything?
I don't know.
I don't either.
I do not know.
I'm not sure about Cleveland either. I guess this week I've just kind of lost track because of the weather. I'll be honest with you, just haven't been out. Anyway, we'll try to get caught up, and next week maybe we can have some better information for you and have more up-to-date stuff going on. And so we'll check that out, and hopefully everybody will keep up with it. Just check with the papers, listen to check with the Chattanooga paper, the Cleveland paper. Matter of fact, I got this. Of course, this latest thing came out in the Banner this week, which I was proud of them. And of course, it was a week behind, but it just came out yesterday, so I guess you can't say it was up to date at that time. So we appreciate that. Appreciate Mr. Roberts over there taking care of us, and Joe Cannon. They do a great job for us, and but keep on track there. Coach, you got anything else you want to talk about today, or anything on your mind?
I went down to the UTC match last night.
That's right. I meant to bring that up.
Yeah,
Yes, just tell us about it.
Well, they wrestled Southern Illinois, Edwardsville, and I didn't realize till a few days ago in the paper that they've been a Southern Conference school for several years, and this is their last year in the Southern Conference. I had no idea they were Southern Conference from Illinois, but I guess they do that a lot. Missouri a few years ago came in the Southern Conference, but anyway. Yeah, I watched the match. It's kind of interesting to go to those matches. It's fun to, of course, the match itself, watch the wrestling, that's always good. But just to see old faces, old friendships,
Alumni.
people.
And
alumni,
UTC has got one great following on alumni, folks. I'm going to tell you, it may be one of the strongest following alumni I've seen or been associated with. But you get down there at a match, and there's no telling how far back it will go to the alumni that went to UTC. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah, I was in line to pay, and there's Eric Phillips. I talked to him. He wrestled when I did with me on my team, and then the Noblet brothers were right there. I talked to them. They spoke to me for a second. I mean, there was 5 or 6 people right there in a row from different generations, from Coach Jackson's generation in the early 70s to my generation of wrestling. Of course, I saw Jeff Ruffalo, and I mean, just tons of people I wrestled with, and they're always there every time I go.
Yeah.
And it's just good to see those guys and to catch up. And I went to Coach Reeve and said hi to him, and I said, I remember about Edwardsville, Coach, and he said nope. I said Ozzie Porter, this guy I wrestled from Edwardsville, was really just an animal. This guy was a man. I was a freshman my first year, and he was a tough kid. He was a man. I was the kid. And then Coach reminded me of a guy that I wrestled that was a D2 national champ there. And his dad was the coach. Larry Christoph was Olympian, actually. His son was Mark Christoph. I wrestled a redheaded kid, a little stocky. I wrestled Mark Christoph. I wrestled him. I had him 43B, but he did. He took me down with 6 seconds left. And Coach Reeve remembered that. And we had a good laugh about that. I mean, I couldn't believe he remembered the match. It was 30 years ago. And but it's just fun to reminisce. And I left him and walked toward the gym there. And there's Heath. He comes over and gives me a hug. I talked to Heath for a second. And he's like, you make it about 7 or 8 steps, and you meet somebody else from your past, whether it be 10 years ago or 20 or 30 or 35 years ago.
Guarantee you.
And you're all there for a common reason, and it's just kind of a fun. It's a brotherhood.
Well, as we've always said, folks, there's just something special about a wrestling family. I love other sports, I do, but I've never been associated with any kind of program that I don't know. It's just something about that togetherness, the unity. The feel-good feelings of being, and I think one of the greatest things about it is so often this comes with competitors. Doesn't necessarily always have to be the people that you wrestled with, but lots of times the ones you wrestled against. And it's a mutual respect, I think, and that's what makes it special. It's that character development that you get from the sport of wrestling is to me like no other, and I'm just so proud of the sport and how well we've done.
I'm sorry, Coach.
No problem.
I made a post on Facebook not real long ago because that thing came up among a wrestling thing, and I made the exact observation you just did. But there was guys talking on there, and it was Ed Torrejon, who was a national champion wrestler in his own right, and Coach Jackson, who had beaten Ed Torrejon in the national finals the year before, and Ed won it the next year. And Coach Reeve, which I've seen articles of when Coach Reeve and Coach Jackson battled back in college. It said 158-pound kings collide or something. They were both from their.
That was great this week on Facebook to see. They had a bunch of Coach Jackson pictures. And
I made
that was great.
Yeah, that was all. I love that old stuff. So, of course, so does everybody else. I love reading it. But those friendships those guys have. If you ever want to see an interesting guy, Facebook Ed Torrejon. He's who coached wrestle national finals, and he's just a heck of an interesting fella. He's I don't want to explain it. He's just a fun guy to read about and get to know a little bit. And but just watching those guys share laughs and friendships from the past and kind of poke fun at themselves and just give give so much credit to their opponents back in the day. And he was so tough, that guy beat me, or just I don't know, just see the respect they have for each other and the friendships they have after all those years ago. You're just trying to just pound this guy and take his trophy. Yep. He's trying to take your trophy. That's what the sport is. But then later, like you said, you get these friendships and this bond between you that just lasts a lifetime. It's pretty cool.
Well, I think it's the mutual respect because number one, it's easy to be dominant. Okay, it's easy when you're the man and you're dominant and there's no competition. But I think when you're both as individuals and competitors, and you step on that mat, and you both have worked your tail off, you've sweated, you've lost some weight, you've done all these different kinds of time, you've worked hard, you've lifted weights, you've done it all, you've gone to the top of the mountain, and they have too. So I think that's where the respect comes, is the fact that no one likes to lose. Okay, that's the point. You get on there, no one likes to lose. But if I'm going to lose, if I lose to somebody I know is working as hard or even harder than me, I can handle it. You know, that's something. You have to be humble. You have to be able to handle that, and that's part of that character building. And you have to respect what they did. So at the end, you don't put up a fuss. You shake their hand, and hey, you work harder for the next time. You do something like that, but respect the position. Respect your sport. This is the key thing, and I think it just sets such a big tone for the sport.
I've gone to the NCAA tournament so many years in the past 20. I've probably gone, I don't know how many, a lot. And you see that high level of wrestling and competitors, and it's interesting to me. Even last night, you see these guys getting beat. Some get pinned, some get whipped, some get beaten close, lose a 1 point or whatever the case is. But those guys on that level and their maturity level, being early 20s, most of them, they get up and they shake the guy's hand. They're not going to go have tea with him after the match, but he shakes his hand, gives him his respect, and walks off the mat. And I like to, and when I was coaching, I used to talk to my kids about this in wrestling. Some of you guys in high school, you get beat by some kid from Red Bank or something, and you throw your little tantrum and you throw your headgear, and you won't want to shake hands, or we end up doing something bad like biting someone or something. And you want to say, who do you think you are? What are you, Dan Gable? Who are you? You can't be beaten. It's so out of, the realm of possibilities. You get beaten. You're going to throw a tantrum when you get beat. When you watch these kids in college that get beat, these guys are all 2 and 3 and 4-time state champions. They're used to winning. They're successful. They're great athletes. And they would take that kid from high school and just flip him on the nose and beat him. And yet those guys are just very humble, and when you get, like you said, the respect factor. When you get beat, man, you shake his hand and you walk off the mat. If you want to go feel bad, you go somewhere in the back where it's quiet and there's no one else around, and then you do your little whatever you got to do.
Do your whining to yourself, because nobody, I'll be honest with you folks, nobody wants to see it, nobody wants to hear it. And if you do it in vision, if you do it on the mat, if you throw a tantrum, you throw a headgear, hey, all people do, the only thing, that's what they remember of you.
Yep.
They remember poor sportsmanship. They remember you doing that. They don't remember the great fights you put up, because you just destroyed that with that kind of a situation. So
Yeah, it's unfortunate too. I remember back in 1990 or 91, I can remember Terry Brands, who was a great wrestler. Terry Brands won 2 national titles. I watched him get beat in the finals by Jason Kelber from Nebraska. Kelber cradled him up and beat him. And I remember it's burned in my brain. Brands crawling back to the middle, and he wouldn't shake hands. And then he pitches a little fit, and then he runs off the mat, and then he goes in the back and he trashes the media room. Goes in there and trying to talk to him, and he's knocking over plants and things like that, And it's unfortunate because he was a great wrestler. I'm sure he's a good man, but yet all those years ago, that still sticks in my brain about Terry Brands, and it's still. And these kids don't remember. I used to stress to my kids forever: you will leave a legacy behind you. Long after you're gone, people remember, even if they don't want to remember. People that were there during your time will remember some stuff about you. Was that kid good sportsmanship? They'll say he was a gentleman, or he was a poor sport, or was that kid tough-minded? No, he wasn't tough-minded. If he could beat you, he'd beat you up. But if you were as tough as him or tougher, he'd lay down for you. He wasn't a tough-minded kid, or whatever. There's so many categories here you could go over. But you're going to leave behind a legacy whether you want to or not. People will remember you forever. Now, that's so important. You don't know it now. At 16, you don't understand that. You say things like, I don't care if people think about me. Well, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Your future job may depend on it, your friendships, your reputation. You cannot get a new reputation as far as at that time in your life. And so like we're talking about, you see these guys where they handle loss or handle any adversity, it says about your character.
Well, it's a cycle of life, folks. It's life. It's life. It's not all going to be there for you. It's not all going to be a winner. You're not going to everything. Failure makes you better.
Absolutely.
That's some people say, how do you say that? Well, let's just think about it. And this is an old cliche, but you ever think of a professional baseball player that makes 3 hits out of 10 times at bat? Now, that's 300, okay? But that's 3 out of 10. All right, some people would say, well, that's failure. But in pro sports, that's pretty good failure. You're making big bucks if you're hitting 300. and nowadays, even if you're batting 200. But the thing about it is, it's you have to have some downs to learn to appreciate the ups. And I think if you always have ups, if you're an up person all the time, and there's nothing wrong. If you're that good, God bless you. And there's very few of those out there, folks. There's very few people that haven't taken it on the chin or haven't had to lost something. And until you've lost something big, you just think about it. These kids, you see these state championships, these national championships, and they go down and they're going at it back and forth and back and forth, and one of them loses by 1 point. Now, that's a big loss, but it's a way of developing character. You have to learn how to accept it because it's not going to change. It's there. It's there. It's not going to change, but hopefully it makes you a better person. It makes you appreciate more what you're about to get into in your life. It's all about life, folks. It's all about life. Anything else, Coach?
Not that I can think of.
Well, I tell you, it's been a pretty good program. I thought, considering we didn't have a whole lot to talk about this week, but I think we hung in there pretty good. Are you going to be able to be back next week? I'm going to be around?
I don't see why not. I think
Okay. Well, next week I think we're going to have a lot more to talk about. We'll have some things we'll be able to tell you about as we're getting down close to the duels. We'll get these duels out of the way, see if there's anything else coming up, and we'll have some new rankings, and we'll talk about upcoming tournaments with the dual tournaments. Traditional is a little bit further away, but we will get into that next week on our wrestling show here on Whoop FM 99.9. 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. So I hope that y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay safe and join us next week at 9 o'clock. Thank you so much, folks. Have a great day.
So I used to love in the wintertime when the hawk comes out, that the horses would get this real thick, healthy-looking coat of hair on. And I've noticed that the people do it too.